Hey, Brucey.
Hello, how are you?
How are you? How are you? In my
I
kitchen this
tell you
evening.
what,
I'm showing face.
Mr. Tom, I make you look very, very good on screen. Very good.
Well, I thought it was about time I showed my face, Bruce, and take a wee shot. Obviously, a cameo role, 5-10 minutes maximum. That's the deal. That's the deal.
But you
How's a
you are
sunny
the
Edinburgh?
man behind. You're like the Simon Cowell. You are the man behind what has become the greatest rugby quiz show. And I have to say, good job on the skylight. Lovely extension.
You like it? You like it? Yep, yep, yep. The hedge.
Oh,
Where's
now
the hedge?
look. Now this wasn't planned, but I've got a visitor here who wants to show support for Dodie. So here's Maggie, and
Ah,
look, she's got her Dodie collar on. Say hello, Maggie. Hello, Maggie. This is Maggie. Hello, everybody. This is Maggie. Off you go. Oh. So
right,
everybody, I've
Brucey.
got my
Bruce, how
Dodie
many?
socks on. I've got my Dodie pants on, and I've got my Dodie t-shirt on. And I've not gone with popular opinion with the snood to cover here. So not wearing all my Dodie gear.
Not yet, not yet. Well, I've got my Doddy polo shirt. Now, the story behind me before Bruce, destroys my image and reputation. I've been involved with doing some events for Doddy for the last couple of years. Last year we cycled Johnny Groats to Land's End, the long way, 1,100 miles, a lot of fun. This year we were supposed to do it round Ireland, very similar. However, COVID-19 stopped all that. So we thought, right, what are we going to do? How are we going to keep the momentum going and keep support for the big man and his foundation? So the Great Rugby Genius quiz was invented. We have had some fantastic guests, our hosts. We had Alex Payne week one, we had Bruce week two, Jill Douglas, Scott Hastings, Nick Knowles, Nick Heath, Ollie Phillips, and then this evening Bruce is back to finish off the series. Now that lockdown is finished, and we have got a panel. And what a panel do we have? I'll let Bruce introduce them later, but it's going to be a good night. There's questions you can ask down the panel. Bruce has got a few questions. We're going to challenge these guys, the Scotland v Ireland quiz between the two of them. They don't know the questions. Bruce hopefully hasn't told them the questions, so it is pretty much Scotland against Ireland for those guys. As we know, we're here to support Doddy. Big Man's 50 next weekend. Genius Brewing have been very, very supportive from day one. Get yourself a can of beer. 5p for every can goes to the foundation. And that's Jason and Charlie who are behind that fantastic brewery. There's a PayPal link, I think, somewhere on the YouTube channel. You can donate to hopefully enter the prize draw and win a prize, which is a signed 2017 British and Irish Lions jersey. So that's the introduction. Bruce, you're
Thank
there.
you,
You're still
Stu.
there.
I'm still here. I am worried though, because let's face it, I've got previous for this going all kinds of wrong. So let's get going before anything else can happen. But Neil, the man behind all this, the tech man, we had a run through at lunchtime today, and then he had to run away for the afternoon to spend with Blue, the pop group. But we have got a much finer group of men to join us this evening, and I am very excited, as you can tell, and I am very excited most of the time. With over 200 Ulster appearances, he's played for Ireland. He's played for Ireland at Sevens. He featured in the Heineken Cup final in 2012. He's now a PE teacher because all the best people are PE teachers. That's Mr. Paul Marshall, and he's joined by his mate Trimby with 70 caps for Ireland, 220 odd appearances for Ulster, Ulster Player of the Year, played in the same final. Gentlemen, good to see you wearing the colours. How are you both? How are you, Beagle?
I'm I'm doing well, thanks, Bruce. So it's great to be involved, and obviously Andrew and I thought we would get in the colours and the spirit of things, and we didn't get to play against Dodie, but we've obviously seen what a huge personality he's been, and just how much he's done for motor neuron disease over the last number of years. So it's great to be involved, and we would know Stuart Tom well, so Stuart asked us to be involved, and obviously we're delighted to be here.
Yeah, he's a good man for putting the rubber arm up the back. Trimby, how are things with you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Great to be involved. Thanks for having us along. Great to support a very worthwhile cause. I'm exhausted, I must say. I spent the day looking after my young fella, and I feel like I've spent the day at Hacksaw Ridge. So I handed over to my wife, and I can hear them screaming in the background, and it's delightful because it's not my problem. So I'm looking forward to enjoying tonight.
Nice, good. Well, now no telling lies that this has lasted until 10:30 tonight because she'll be able to check on YouTube. So don't you go milking this one. My 8-year-old decided to dive out a tree from about 10 foot last night onto her head. So she's suffering from a broken wrist and a concussion today. So it's been an interesting day at Chez Aitchison. But enough of that nonsense. Here we go with Scotland's representatives. He's the man who is known as Basil. Of course, it's ex-Scotland captain, Melrose scrum half. He played in France, he played in England, he's coached, he's done it all. He's a handsome man still. Hello, Bryan Redpath.
Hi, Bruce. How are you, mate? Are you well?
You
No,
don't sound
thanks
as
for
enthusiastic as me. Come on.
yeah, but you're from Galway, remember? I'm from Melrose, so no, delighted to be on the show. And last year, obviously, I done the cycle for Dodie to John O'Groats to Land's End, and with Stuart, and it was great to be involved and to support the big fella. And it's great that he's come through this period of COVID as well and healthy. And saw a brief comment the other day when he was talking with Rob Burrow and Steve Darby. So he seems in great form, and I'm looking forward tonight. And it's great to see the lads across from Ireland with their international tops on as well.
Good, good. Brush, I love seeing you with Dodie. It's like a scene out of the Fast Show or something with you two, and I love how he always calls you Brush. That's my favourite. I love that. I love seeing the two of you together. Well, to join Basil is one of his buddies who's played 10. What can I say about this man? Gala Shields Academy, second finest ever product. I hate to think who the best must have been. Heaps of caps for Scotland. Of course, he played for the British and Irish Lions with that monumental victory in South Africa. It's the one and only Mr. Gregor Townsend. Hello, Gregor.
Good evening, Bruce. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Good to see you showing the Doddy colours there. How's life in St. Boswell's treating you?
Brilliant. As you know, the Borders is fairly isolated at the best of times, so not much has changed down here.
And you're looking fit and healthy. You're a very intelligent man. Are you ready for this quiz to test you?
Thanks for the compliments. Yeah, I'm fit and healthy. I put my back out a few weeks ago, so that wasn't too good. Intelligence maybe in different subjects in Ulster rugby. So hopefully there's some Scottish rugby questions in there too.
Well, I am open to bribery, Mr. Townsend. I am open to bribery, as you probably well know. Gentlemen, magnificent to see you. So, for everybody out there, these four are also going to take part in the quiz, and we're going to catch up with them at half-time, and they're going to give us an insight into their scores. But before any other technological issues can occur, let's have eyes down for round one. Now, for those of you who are joining for the Bruce, gone too early. Come on, Stu, come back. Where's handsome Stu? Oh, Stuart. So, you might be old like me and two of the other panelists. I'll let you guess who those are. But Sunday evening was spent after having your tea watching a rugby special with Bill McLaren and Starmer Smith talking us through the action from the days before the action on the Saturday afternoon in Clubland. So, We've got one of Stu's pals, Neil, playing on the piano. Let's have a listen to our theme tune to match Nick Heath's from last week. Cue the music.
Special for Dodie Weir.
And from the Green Yards, it's Melrose against Gala, starring Bryan Redpath and Gregor Townsend. Love the theme tune. Love the theme tune. So, now we can get cracking. Let's get it all kicked off with Ireland stuff. So, Trimby and Beagle, you had better be up to speed with this one. Question number 1. From the 2020 Ireland Six Nations squad, who is the most capped Ireland forward with 98 caps? Imagine playing in the pack 98 times at international level. That is pretty spectacular. I reckon that's a giveaway of a mark. Giveaway. 2020 Six Nations squad, who was the most capped Ireland forward? A mountain of a man. The next one is another giveaway. Stu, you have been very, very generous with this quiz, methinks, with it being the last one. Who became the first Irish player to receive a red card at a Rugby World Cup? That's a gimme. That's a gimme. Trimby and Marsh are rubbing their hands. Gregor, I reckon, knows this one. Brush is scratching that head, I reckon. Brush has nailed the first one, but he's not sure on the second one. So, question 2. Who was the first Irish player to receive a red card at the Rugby World Cup for being a very naughty boy? Question 3. When the game turned professional in 1995, Ireland finished bottom of the Five Nations for 3 years in succession from 1996, and they won only 2 games. Who was the only nation they beat? So they beat the same country twice. So from 1995, Ireland had a shocker, finished bottom 3 years in a row. They only won 2 games. Who was it they beat? There's a bit. I reckon, Marsh, I reckon you're a poker player. I reckon that's a poker face. Brush, is that you on some isotonic there? Is that you just...
well, it's a bit of it, but I've got a lovely wee glass of red as well.
We?
Oh, well, it's a big glass for me, but hey, it's Friday.
It's Friday. Thank Crunchy it's Friday. Number 4. Ireland failed for the first time to reach the quarterfinals of a World Cup in 1999. Who defeated them in the quarter-final playoff? Stu, you need to be careful setting questions like this. You live in Ireland. You're a naughty boy. Number 4.
It was difficult to find positive ones.
Oh, come on now. Gregor, get off that. You're Googling. Mr. Townsend, you better not be Googling. Ireland failed. Oh, there you go. He's got the genius. Yes. Cheers. Ireland failed for the first time to reach the quarterfinals of the World Cup in 1999. Who defeated them in the quarterfinal playoff? Question 5. The first Six Nations game to be played at the Aviva was against who? The first Six Nations game to be played at the Aviva Stadium was against who? I reckon this is tough for our Scottish-based callers. Hello, genius. Jason, are you there? I tell you what, you've been getting pelters. 3 of the panel have not received their case of genius. and you don't want to see Brush when he's angry. That's why he's resorted to a muckle glass of red wine. Question 6. Against which nation did Ireland record their biggest win? I don't think this is Gregor's favourite country. I don't think Gregor's a fan of this lot. He's a bit puzzled. He says, I hate everybody. It could be anybody. Is that giving you a clue, Gregor?
Thanks for the clue. I got that one. Thank you. England.
Against which nation did Ireland record their biggest win? That was question number 6. They have all been worth 1 point so far. Question 7. Who in 2018 was the latest former Irish player to be inducted into the World Rugby Hall of Fame? Now, tipped for the top. I reckon Gregor might have been on the phone to him. Who in 2018 was the latest former Irish player to be inducted into the World Rugby Hall of Fame? I got this wrong. I went big.
Your clue will help.
You think my clue will help? Marsha, I told you, I'm up for corruption. I can take bribes. Marsh on the water. I like. Look at that. Always an athlete.
Well,
there's a man that's
we didn't
ready
get
to
any
get back
genius.
into it.
We didn't get our genius. So,
Jason, come on. The boys are not happy. You've got a bit to do here. So Ireland are finished. Let's go to Ulster, where it really happens. Boys, out of 10, Trimby and Beagle, out of 10, how much did you love playing for Ulster? Trimby, out of 10, how much did you love playing for Ulster at home?
10. It has to be 10, really. Yeah, we got some good memories. Being on the pitch with Paul and a lot of other guys. Mixed results and long periods of kind of doing well. 2012, you talked about the Henning Cup final then. We had a few patches and we had a few moments, and we had enough to look back with fond memories. But
other teams did not enjoy coming to play against you, did they? Beagle, other teams did not like coming to play against you.
Yeah, I think certainly, I know it's Kingspan now. It was Ravenhill obviously before that, and I think it's a good place to play. I think the fans are pretty passionate, and I suppose like most teams, you try to put a bit of pride, especially in your home performances, and make it a tough place to come to. So hopefully we did that.
You going to go back and watch?
Yeah, no, I've been back quite a bit, and then I've done a few wee bits of media at some of the games as well, which has been good, and it's a nice way to sort of keep your toe in with some of the things going on, and you can see what's happening. And I went down to watch training, actually. I asked Dan McFarland if I go down and take my wee boy down to watch training around Christmas time, so it's kind of nice to still do that the odd time and see what they're up to.
And thank God I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah, it's funny on the big nights though. If you're at a big game and you sort of feel the crowd starting to build and everything, you do sort of think, oh, wouldn't mind one more game. So
not me.
Trimby definitely doesn't want to.
Trimby's done. He's checked out. He's gone.
No.
He's gone.
No
He's
chance.
at the bar. No chance. Right, let's get cracking with our Ulster questions. 2 Lions tours since 1980 have not featured an Ulster player. Stu, come on, man. What were the years? So there were 2 Lions tours without an Ulsterman since 1980. This is dipping back. I can see Brush. There's a lot of thought going on there, Brush.
There's a lot.
Trying to work out what years. Trimby, there's bombs going off behind you, Trimby, I reckon.
Good. Enjoy it.
I just want to see my daddy. Daddy's
out of bounds.
Trimby's been saying that the whole time.
Second question in the Ulster round. This is question 9. Question 8 was worth a point each, so for each year that you're correct, you get a point. Question number 9. Which of the current Pro 14 teams has Ulster never lost to? One of the Pro 14 teams has never beaten Ulster. Who is it? Let's face it, flip a coin. It's one or the other, isn't it? It's one or the other.
Pro 14.
Pro 14. Pro 14, Gregor.
Okay.
Pro 14. Look at it, he's now Googling. Stop it.
Flipping a coin between 4 teams.
4 teams. Ah, okay. Interesting. I was just going with a couple there. Beagle's not reading between the lines. He's not getting my clues. Either that or he is the master poker player.
Oh,
You've got it. You nailed it. You've done some revision since 12:30 this afternoon. You've been revising. I'm very impressed. Trimby's counting on you on this one. You know that.
I need some help. I was a part of the team that nearly got beat, and it was the beginning of the end for me, to be honest.
Question 10. Ulster were the first province. Now, my mate Mark Blair will not allow it to be called the Heineken Cup. It is the European Cup. Ulster were the first Irish province to win the European Cup. What year did they win and who did they defeat in the final? So this is worth 2 marks. 1 mark for the year and 1 mark for who they defeated. And if you have spent even 10 minutes in the company of Mark Blair, you will know every detail of that game, everything that happened, because Blairzo is still very happy with that occasion. He's quite a man, is Mark. Love him to bits. He's a big dafty. Ulster were the first Irish province to win the European Cup. What year did they win and who did they defeat in the final? And if you've paid attention to rugby in the last years, you will know that there was quite a special anniversary of that game, and the team got paraded out at half-time, I think, although most of them can't remember being paraded out at half-time. Number 11 is about one of our esteemed panel. Andrew Trimble and one other player hold the record for the most games played for Ulster with 229. Trimby, could you not have just hung on for one more? One more game. One more game. Who is the other player?
Paul might remember. We were on our way to the airport, and I was sick out the window, and had to turn and go back. And if I had made it to the airport, I would have got 2:30. That was it. Right. The one that got away, Paul.
The one that got away. I'm not going to ask why you were sick out the window or what you were travelling on that you were able to be sick out the window.
We were in the same car. We were worried we were going to be sick.
I'm disappointed you didn't stop to let him be sick.
Well, sometimes it usually
you not pulled in.
Look, it was always a mad race. We nearly had a really bad accident one day. Do you remember that van? It was just the two of us and the lorry. Remember the lorry swerved and we both, it was like life stopped. It was slow motion. This lorry was on our side of the road coming straight towards us and we both were just like, this is it. He held my hand.
We're going together. We're going together, Beagle. We're going together. So, who is the player that holds the record for Ulster along with handsome Andrew Trimble? That is worth 1 mark. Question 12. If Gregor Townsend must get this one. Forwards coach Roddy Grant was born in which country? So, the Ulster forwards coach Roddy Grant was born in which country? But he claims to be a Gala man. Watch Brush get his back up at that one. Claims to be a Gala man. He's from good Gala stock. Well, there's a frown. There's a frown for Brush. Forwards coach Roddy Grant was born in which country? Question 13. Current coach Dan McFarlane played for which London club from 1996 until 1999? I would have to take a punt at that one, and I did not get that right. Not even close. It took me about 8 guesses to get that one. Current coach Dan McFarlane played for which London club from 96 until 99? That is worth 1 mark. Question 14. Which Ulster player was called up as a late replacement on the 2001 Lions tour? I think that's a popular one. I reckon Brush is scratching his head. I reckon Tooney knows it. And I think the Ulster boys will know that one. Which Ulster player was called up as a late replacement on the 2001 Lions tour? Gregor's nodding. He is not a poker player.
Yeah.
Gregor wears it on his sleeve. Don't you, Gregor?
That was a tour that I was hanging by the phone for weeks to get called up. And the call never came.
The call never came. That's because they called this guy.
Yeah.
Where were you playing in 2001?
Cast.
I reckon that's probably because the cast owner had told them you were allowed to be called. He'd given them your wrong phone number.
One of my teammates, an Ulsterman, was in that tour as well. Can you name him for a bonus?
Oh, a bonus.
Just for you,
throwing it
Bruce.
out there.
An Ulsterman
Just
who played
for
a
me.
cast made that tour.
Brennan?
Jeremy Davidson.
Jeremy Davidson.
Buzz. Was Buzz with you? He cracked me up in we'll get to the 97 Lions. We'll get to the 97. You better have some stories for that, Mr. Townsend. We could be here all night for that one.
Yeah, him and Paul Wallace. A few
smile.
stories about both of them. Actually, Jeremy
keep those.
Got a new knee last week, so we wish Jeremy all the best with his new knee.
That's long overdue.
Where's he now?
It is.
What job is he doing? What does Jeremy Davidson do now?
He's head coach of Brive.
So he's still in France. Lovely. It must be nice to be there now because they're getting allowed out, aren't they? Right, here you go, Gregor. We are staying with the 2001 Lions tour to Australia. Which Scottish player? This is going to kill you, Gregor. And you, Brush. Which Scottish player was the only back on tour when he was called up late as injury cover for Rob Howley? Look at Brush's face. And if you've ever been at a dinner with this man, you know this, because this takes a good 15 minutes of his repertoire. Which Scottish player was the only back on tour when he was called up late as injury cover for Rob Howley and took a good 48 hours to sober up, I reckon? Question 16. In the Test series, the majority of the points were scored by Wilkinson and Robinson, but there were 4 players who scored a try in that series. Name the 4 players. One of them's a giveaway. In the 2001 Lions tour to Australia, most of the Test points were scored by Wilkinson and Robinson, but 4 players scored tries in the series. Name those 4. I reckon one of them's a giveaway, and I reckon the others are tough calls. Tough calls. Unless you are a Lions anorak or you have got a very good memory of almost 20 years ago, those 3 are tough. So that is worth 1 mark each. Time for some genius.
Tom Smith should have scored.
Tom Smith should have scored. Don't they just love Tom? Did you see the article about Mark Palmer did in the Sunday Times?
No.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's worth having a look at. Tom Smith, what a legend. Trimby, what is going on? Is that the background of your house?
Can you hear all this?
Yes.
Have you got a creche back there? It sounds like you've got half a dozen.
I don't honestly. I've lost count. I don't know how many kids I have at this stage. We're gluttons for punishment. Sorry.
Yeah, it sounds like you're going to have your hands full when you get off of this quiz. That's for certain.
This quiz doesn't finish until they're asleep.
We're going to keep going until there's silence in the background. Next question. The first test was played in Brisbane at the Gabba, home to the Brisbane Cricket Ground. What is its full name? So Gabba is short. What is the full name? That's an anorak question. Stu, Tom, what a fantastic job he's done of putting together the questions for all of these quizzes. He's got far too much time on his hands, that man. There he is, he's back, look at him. Stu, what a job.
Hello. I'm just sitting back, watching it all unfold.
And oh boy, is it unfolding. That one's a corker. I reckon Gregor's going to like this next one. And that might be a clue for the rest, because he's already given a name away. Question 18, 1 point for each. The same front row played in all 3 tests. Who were they? So the same front row played in the 3 tests. 1 and 2 are a gimme. Number 3 is for rugby fans. Rugby fans. Oh, he's chewing that one over. This is me messaging out to Jason, who is in the chat. Don't message me because I am on my phone and I can't get your messages. So you're going to have to be very creative. Send a pigeon or message Stu, and Stu will get onto it, because for lots of technical reasons that I do not understand, but the only thing that worked was my phone. So Jason, don't call, don't text, don't WhatsApp. You get in touch with Stu and Stu will do the rest. So that question was question 18. The same front row played in all 3 tests. Who were they? Question 19, and the last one of the first round. This is a biggie. Name the 6 English players who started the 3rd test, who would also start for England in the 2003 World Cup final. Some of that is going to be taking a punt, but I reckon you'll not be far off with 4 of them. So there were 6 English players who started in the 3rd test, who also started for England in the 2003 World Cup final. Who were they? And that is worth 1 mark each. So your potential first half score is 31 points. So we are looking for scores from 31. That is going to be very interesting. I am keen to see how the Ballymena Fat Boys get on with this one, because they must have just been biding their time for some Ireland and Ulster questions. So please, once you've got those 6 players down, Marsh is always puzzled. That was not your poker face. We came back to you too early there. Came back too early, chewing the pen. No, he's under that smile. There's a steel that he's like, I just need 1 more.
You see, if you make it look like you're really thinking about it, people don't think you've Googled it.
Yeah, I reckon there's been a lot of Googling. Right, so those 6 players that started for the Lions in the 3rd Test also started for England in the 2003 World Cup final. That gives us 31 points. So, just before we go over the answers, because Beagle needs some time to get that 6th player, please make sure you have stuck something on that PayPal link. We've got many people who have been here for all 9 episodes, and that has just been magnificent to have people for such a long period of time. Stu has done an amazing job of putting it together. He has been stuck with me for a lot of it, and I thank him for that. But please make sure you stick some money in the PayPal link. If you're going to buy beer this summer, buy Genius, because 5p of it goes to Doddie's Foundation. And when you stick some money in that PayPal link, then you'll be entered into the draw for that British Lions signed shirt. That is a fantastic prize to have. So let's go around the houses here. We're going to ask our panel what they think they've got out of 31, and then we'll come back to them and we'll see. So let's go first. Gregor, what do you reckon? Out of 31, what are you going for?
22.
20. Oh, I thought you're a student of the game, Gregor. I thought you were going to go higher. 22. Are there any questions you think you've got no idea of?
Yes.
Any that have stumped you?
Yeah. The GABA. What was that as a question? The GABA, what does that stand for?
I know. Stu.
I've guessed
Stu,
everyone, but the GABA, no chance.
Nah, I reckon, right, here's a clue for the GABA. If you think of some of the most ridiculous Aussie names that you can think of, and you stick it on the start, and the first little bit could be related to a sheep. There's my clue. You're going to give me so much abuse for that clue, but the people who have got it will be nodding, going, oh yeah, I get that. Brush, what do you reckon? Out of 31, Gregor's gone 22. Higher or lower than 22?
Yeah, I'd be saying lower. I'm probably about 17, 18, I reckon.
Lower, right? These boys are loving it.
No.
The two boys in green are delighted. 17, right? Okay, so Brush plus Gregor, we're looking at 39. So hit us with it. Trimby, what's your thoughts? Out of 31, what have you got?
I'm not massively confident, to be honest. I think I'm looking 16 or 17 as well. This is shameful, isn't it?
Right. Well, I reckon you're just too modest because you've given yourself a hard time for your rugby. Let's face it, you were bloody good at that. Right, Beagle, pull him up by his bootlaces. Come on.
I'm going to go 20.
Oh, I reckon you boys are selling yourself short.
Well, there's a lot of guesses in around that Lions era, so it could be lucky, maybe.
Could be lucky. Right, let's have a look. So, eyes down. Are we ready for the answers? Question 1, Ireland stuff. Taken from the 2026 Nation squad, who is the most capped Ireland forward with 98 caps? It is, of course, Cian Healy. Cian Healy. Question 2, who became the first Irish player to receive a red card at the Rugby World Cup? Big smile from Beagle. It was Bundee Aki against Samoa in 2019. So Bundee Aki, Brush is having a shocker. Trimby, did you get that wrong?
Get that?
Right, come on,
now
no.
Revise.
But Trimby,
now revise.
Who did you?
I completely forgot it.
Who did you put? Trimble, who did you put?
I put Alan Quinlan. I don't know what I was thinking.
If you're thinking Ireland and you're thinking red, you think Alan Quinlan.
Exactly, yeah.
Question 3. When the game turned professional in 95, Ireland finished bottom 3 years on the bounce, winning only 2 games. And it was the same country they beat each time. In 96 and 97, it was Wales. They beat Wales twice.
You assumed it was Scotland being
a shaking head.
No, I thought it wouldn't be Scotland because we had Scottish guests. I put Wales down, then I changed it to France because I thought Wales was the next answer. So I could be wrong twice.
You are wrong twice. Ireland failed for the first time to reach the quarterfinals of the World Cup in '99. Who defeated them in the quarterfinal playoff? It was Argentina. So number 4 was Argentina. We're going to have to take the camera away from Cheltenham because he's having a shocker. Brush, yours is coming. The second half is you,
Belfast.
Brush. Now you've gone to Belfast.
Oh, yes.
I tell you what, Brush, you're taking this social distancing just in your stride. Cheltenham, Belfast, you don't care. Boris, you come and find me. Boris, you come and find me. Next answer. This first Six Nations game to be played at the Aviva was against France in 2011. France. Question 6. Against which nation did Ireland record their biggest win? And I gave a bit of a clue. It was the USA. And they won 83-3 in June 2000. It was the USA.
Terrible clue. Terrible clue.
Why? Who else do you not like?
Japan. They beat us in the World Cup.
I assumed it was Japan as well.
I was Japan as well. I was like, Japan.
Everybody likes Japan. Everybody likes Japan.
Japan beat Ireland as well, didn't they, this year? So, oh well.
Right, okay, so I'm fired. Get your coat, Aitchison. So, question 7. Who in 2018 was the last Irish player to be inducted into World Rugby Hall of Fame? It was, of course, Ronan O'Gara. I went Paul O'Connell. It was Ronan O'Gara inducted into the World Rugby Hall of Fame. Now we get on to Ulster. 2 Lions tours since 1980 have not featured an Ulster player. So you get 1 point for each year. What do you reckon? Are you keen to give your answers, or will I just put you out your misery?
Is it too late to change? Because I've just realised that one of the other questions relates to 2001, and I put 2001.
Right, quickly. You've got 3, 2, 1.
Right, we're changed. 89 and 93.
The answer was 1993 is correct, and 2005. No Ulsterman with the Lions in 93 or 2005. Question 9. Which of the current Pro 14 teams has Ulster never lost to? I thought it was a toss-up between 2. The correct answer, played 4, won 4 against the Southern Kings. So the answer to number 9 was the Southern Kings. Question 10. Ulster were the first province to win the European Cup. What year was it, and who did they defeat? I will hand over to our Ulsterman, they must have that tattooed somewhere, do you? What year was it, Trimby?
1999, and it was Colombia.
There you go. Beautifully done. Colombia.
That sounded like
we let Colombia in.
And Colombia.
It was too French, was it?
That was beautifully done. I deliberately let you do it because I knew I would butcher it. So I stitched you up there, Trimby. I can only apologise. Having done German at school, that's my excuse. I'm going to hand over to you for this one as well, Mr. Trimble. Andrew Trimble and one other player hold the record for the most games for Ulster with 229. The other player is
Darren Cave.
Darren Cave, worth 1 point. I would never have guessed that. Not in a month of Sundays. Darren Cave.
I might add his 229 included a lot of appearances off the bench. So
careful, because Marsh might have a bone to pick with you about one of his caps with that kind of chat.
No, I'd say most of my games. I think I got as many minutes
12.
as
caps. And touches?
None of my first.
Question 12. Forwards coach Roddy Grant was born in which country? He is a gala man, really, but he is from Botswana. Can you imagine being that ginger in Botswana. No wonder he headed for Gala. No wonder he upped sticks and went to Gala. Roddy Grant was born in Botswana. Gregor, did you get that? Please tell me you got that one. Oh, Gregor's away. Gregor, did you get that? Botswana?
Well, we're on to question 13 are we now, I think, Bruce.
No, I'm asking if you got number 12. Did you get Roddy
I got
Grant?
a country next to Botswana. Zimbabwe.
What did you go
I
for?
thought it was Zimbabwe.
Oh, yeah.
Zimbabwe.
I would have gone with that too. Question 13. Current coach Dan McFarlane played for which London club between 96 and 99? It was Richmond. Richmond, which I would never have got. Brush, we're going to have to put a beeper on you.
Yeah, I never got that one, no.
Question 14. Which Ulster player was called up as a late replacement on the 2001 Lions tour? It was Tyrone Howe. Oh, there we go. Who's that? Let's see. Who is it? Can we go full screen on Trimble? Yay!
Are you Rice Krispies, Jack? Have you? Go through them everywhere.
I tell you what, Trimble, you are staking a claim to be on the next Kellogg's advert. Forget Duff Men Care, Dad's Care. This is all about the Rice Krispies.
And it's in big trouble later on.
Yeah. Right, that's it. That's you taking a claim for the Kellogg's, the face of Kellogg's in Northern Ireland, Andrew?
That's fine. I'll happily accept that. No problem. Delighted.
Hashtag Daddy Does Supper.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. Yeah, get their people to call your people. 2001 Lions tour. Can we please get the camera on Bryan Redpath and Gregor Townsend for this? Because this made Basil squirm. Which Scottish player was the only back on tour when he was called up late as injury cover for Rob Howley? Andy Nicol is the answer. Did you get that one, Brian?
Yeah, that managed to get in there, yeah.
Gregor's playing the poker face on that one. Andy Nicol was called up just before the last test. Question 16. This is a 4-pointer. In the test series, the majority of the points were scored by Wilkinson and Robinson. Name the 4 other players who scored a try in that series. The giveaway has got to be O'Driscoll. Walton O'Driscoll, so 1 mark for Brian O'Driscoll. I reckon the other one that you would have got was Daffyd James, because that was a pretty impressive try. So, no, shake of the head. 1 for Brian O'Driscoll, 1 for Daffyd James. One of Gregor's mates from 97, Scotty Quinnell. They were the 3 try scorers in the first test. Daffyd James, Walton O'Driscoll, and Scott Quinnell. And then the try scorer in the second test was another one of Gregor's mates from 97. Gregor, did you get this one?
I got Scott Quinnell.
You got Scott Quinnell. I would never have got this one. Neil Back. Neil Back scored in the second test. So the 1 mark for each. Daffyd James, Brian O'Driscoll, Scott Quinnell, and Neil Back. Question 17. Now, this is where I'm going to get pelters, so we'll go for it. The first test was played in Brisbane at the Gabba, home to the Brisbane Cricket Ground. What is the full name? Now, the sheep clue was the first 4 letters because it's wool. Woolen Gabba. So Gabba is the end of the word, and it's Woolen Gabba. Yeah, none the wiser. I wouldn't have got it either. I didn't even know that it was anything other than the Gabba. I reckon Gregor's nailed number 18. The same front row played in all 3 tests. This is worth 1 mark each. Loose head prop was, of course, Gregor.
Tom Smith's 6 Lions tests in a row.
Tom Smith. Yeah. At hooker, one of your mates from 97, Keith Wood. And did you get the tight head?
Well, I wrote an answer, but I think I'm wrong. I put Trevor Woodman.
No. Englishman.
Phil Vickery.
Brush. Phil Vickery.
Yes.
Tom Smith, Keith Wood, and Phil Vickery were the starting front row in all 3 tests. So that was worth 1 mark each. Question 19. This is a biggie. This is worth 6. Name the 6 English players who started the 3rd test, who would also start for England in the 2003 World Cup final. Let's go round the houses. Marsh, who was your first name?
Wilkinson.
Wilkinson, that's a gimme. Thank you. Trimble?
Robinson.
Robinson, yes. Brush?
Vickery.
Vickery. Gregor?
Johnson.
Johnson. So we're down to 2. Anybody want to have a crack at any of the others? Gregor,
Lawrence.
you must get one of them because he was your club mate. Trimby, who's that?
Matt Dawson. Yeah.
Matt Dawson is number 5. And number 6, Trimby?
Balshaw.
I thought you had it. No.
Hilly.
Anybody? No.
Richard Hill.
Lawrence Delalio.
No, the 3rd one of those. Not Hill,
Back.
not Delalio. Neil Back.
Neil Back.
Yeah, I got back.
I know you did, but you didn't have the guts to say it.
I did say it, and then you said you thought it was Trimby.
See, hey, don't pull the race card on me. Don't you pull that card on me.
That's places.
So the 6 names were Jason Robinson, Johnny Wilkinson, Matt Dawson, Phil Vickery, Martin Johnson, and Neil Back. So that gives us a total of 31 points. I wonder, if you are watching online, please stick your scores into the chat and we will give you a bit of a shout out and we will see how we're getting on. We've got some of the regulars in there, which is great to see, who have been here most Friday nights. We'll let the boys total them up because they're not as sharp as they used to be. Let's have a look at the chat. Get your scores in there as soon as you can so that we can see how you fared against our all-star panel. Stu Tom is currently at home twiddling his thumbs, very, very happy with how hard he made all that. So,
Bruce,
let us
question.
see.
Is the question 10, is that 1 point or 2 points? 19 when you get the Ulster.
Question 10. Question 10 is worth 2 points. 1 for the year and 1 for the club. Yeah.
Excellent.
Excellent. He's happy with that. Yeah, there he goes. Brush, not quite so much.
Columbia.
So out of 31, Columbia, yeah, Trimby nailed that for us. So let's go round the houses. Gregor, we'll start at you. What was your score out of 31?
20.
Oh, 20. Bryan?
16.
Oh, 16. No far away from the prediction. Andrew?
14.
14. Right, Marsh, go for it.
19.
Marsh, what was yours? 19.
19.
Oh, interesting. So for Scotland, we have 36, and for Ireland, we have 33. So 3 points in front for the boys in blue. Excellent. See, every point counts. Every point counts. So now we hit half time, and we are able to have a little bit of a chin wag and a refreshment. Gregor and I will enjoy some genius, and the other boys, unfortunately, will have to just go with whatever they've got. So let's have a blether. I am very keen. There he is. There you go, Gregor. Let's do cheers. Cheers. Lovely, lovely. Right, Gregor, let's get started. How has lockdown treated you?
Yeah, pretty well, actually. I think you look to take positives out of any situation. And for us as international coaches, we've not missed a huge amount. We're going to be missing the summer tour. I think we're due to play a week tomorrow against South Africa. But we were only one game away from finishing our Six Nations campaign. So we've used this time to learn as much as possible as coaches, improve the garden, and now we can improve our golf.
And how did homeschooling go?
Pretty good, because my oldest has now left school. He was in 6th year, and my youngest was delighted that he didn't have to do his exams. So he says he can do it on his own now, but I'm not sure if he's in the room studying or doing Xbox, but there's no need for Dad to be involved.
Okay, so you've had an easy ride. You've been able to do plenty in the garden.
That's how I put my back out.
What does an international coach do during this time? Are you making phone calls? Are you doing extra analysis? Are you able to put your feet up and relax? What do you have to get up to?
Well, you do a lot of learning. So initially it was learning from the Six Nations, how we can build on the performances, what we would do differently next time. Connecting with players has been important, just to make sure that they're okay. And if anybody we feel is struggling a bit, we try and get in touch with them on a more regular basis. Most of the coaches are furloughed, so they've obviously not been able to do much, but there has been opportunities for us to do a bit of professional development. So get in touch with coaches throughout the world, starting with rugby coaches who are all available like we are, to football coaches, to people from the military, from coaching backgrounds, from American sport. That's been the big bonus for us. We'd never had this opportunity to learn from so many different people. And then over the last 2 weeks, we've been able to analyse rugby with the Super Rugby returning in New Zealand.
Right, come on then, because there's been a lot of chat about that, and let's face it, it's the only show in town at the moment. What are you learning from it? Is there any different, or is it just everybody's so happy to be playing it's difficult to judge? That there's so much to analyse in what's going on just now, isn't there?
Yeah, well, look, first of all, you're dealing with 5 very good teams. The New Zealand teams have been the best teams in the Super Rugby Conference for a number of years. The Crusaders have been the #1 team. So you're looking at traits for what they do, what leads to success. I think every coach in the Northern Hemisphere has watched the refereeing very closely over the last couple of weeks, because there's not a change of laws, but there's more of a emphasis on applying the laws correctly around the breakdown, which has led to huge penalty accounts in the first weekend. I think there were 60 over the 2 games. It reduced for the second weekend, but it has allowed for defensive teams to get on the ball more and produce turnovers. So we'll be watching that closely over the next few weeks to see whether that trend continues.
You obviously played in Super Rugby in South Africa. How has that game developed since you were there?
Well, the Super Rugby competition probably hasn't reached the heights of when it was a Super 12. And maybe because a lot of players from the Southern Hemisphere are now playing the Northern Hemisphere. There's so much travelling, and there has been an imbalance over the last few years with the New Zealand team so dominant. But it's still the competition where you see a lot of innovation. You see some outstanding basic skills, and you see a variety of playing styles. The New Zealand style is very different to the South African style, and now with the Argentinian team, the Jaguares in, and the Sunwolves, it's different rugby. So it's a very good competition. Back 10, 15 years ago, it was a leading competition, but now when you look at European Champions Cup rugby, that's got to be up there, or if not better than the Super Rugby.
And you obviously enjoy being able to kick off the slippers on a Saturday morning and watch some rugby, do you?
On record.
On record, oh, okay.
Got to get up to do the garden first, and then watch it.
You got to earn it. Well, good. Well, I'm gonna let you come off screen so you can have a beer, and then let's see what these guys are saying. So, Marsh, where are you? Are you still there, or have you ducked away?
No, still here.
Are you still there? Right, Marsh, now, you, like me, are a PE teacher. Uh, I've not got the international caps and the huge number of games for Ulster behind me, so it probably takes a bit longer for me to convince the bairns what to do. I'm more of a do as I say than do as I do kind of PE teacher, whereas you'll be one of those guys who can still do it, I would imagine. How are you finding that transition from being a professional rugby player to having a whistle and throwing beanbags?
Yeah, like it's obviously been a bit of a change up. And the year after I finished playing, I went back to university for a year, and I remember going back into the uni for that first day, and I had my wee backpack on and we packed lunch with me and everything, and I kind of felt like a big kid again. But that was a good year, and I think it was whenever one of the kids in one of my first placements came over to me and he said, "Yeah, excuse me, Mr. Marshall, did you used to play for Ulster?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I just played last year." And he went, "My dad told me that." And at that point, I thought, "Oh my goodness, already it's my dad told me that as opposed to, oh yeah, I remember you." So I think that was a good grounding for me anyway.
But being a PE teacher is a bit different from being a professional sportsman. How have you found going back to what is grassroots rugby?
Yeah, I think that's been the big learning curve, really, because you come out of the professional game and you're used to everything being done at such a high level, everything's so organized, everybody knows the same terminology. And it's really the school I'm in, and it's just outside of Belfast, Antrim Grammar School, it's called. Wouldn't be a huge rugby school, so it's trying to build it up again from the junior age group right up to the senior school. And it's been very much in some cases like mini rugby coaching. You know, a lot of the kids haven't played any rugby before at all, so most of our kids that have probably in the year 8 year group, for them, it's they've really come from, some of them have come from a Gaelic background, and they're probably the ones that have the best footballing skills. So it's just trying to get them used to the change in the ball shape.
And how have you found when you take up the whistle to be referee?
Yeah, I've actually quite enjoyed refereeing, which is funny because I used to always yap at them flat out. So, uh, and I had a couple of instances. The very first game refereeing, it was an under 14 age group game, and I'm all ready to go. A wee bit nervous as you would be, and the ball's kicked off, and I watch the fullback. Ball's gone deep. The fullback catches the ball. He kind of runs sideways a wee bit, and then he just hoofs it right up the middle of the pitch. And as the ball lands, it bounces once and goes straight into one of his teammates' hands. And his teammate had to be offside, like no doubt about it. But I didn't look over my shoulder. I didn't see it. So I obviously, they say as a referee you can only give what you see. So I let it go. This kid runs straight through, scores, and I look over to the sideline and I can see everyone's looking at me going, thankfully there was only about 3 on the sideline, but they're all looking at me going, and I sort of signaled, was he offside? And they were like, yes. But I couldn't give it, and it was against my own skills. So the very first kickoff, I missed a glaringly obvious offside and I couldn't give it.
So have you got a bit more sympathy for those men that you used to yap at?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually haven't quite enjoyed refereeing, but suddenly you do realise, like, every breakdown is, you can pretty much give a penalty for anything at any breakdown. So it's as I say, it's certainly not a lower, but a lot of the kids haven't played much rugby before. So if you are refereeing, you are trying to almost help them and teach them as you go as well. So it's you don't want to blow the whistle all the time either. You want to let the game flow. So I see myself as a young Nigel Owens. You know, keep the game flowing and everything, make it a good spectacle.
So you would hate to be in Super Rugby as it is at the moment. How have you found watching that? Is the game looking different as a nine?
Yeah, okay. I think obviously a lot of the rules around the breakdown are to try and speed the game up, but that certainly is one thing that, having watched it, is like there was a lot of penalties in that first weekend, and it wasn't very enjoyable to watch. Obviously, referees are given their directive and they're judged on those directives, but the game was so stop start. It just wasn't enjoyable. But as Gregor said there, you know, the penalty count drops, the players get used to it. You know, the referees obviously will adjust a wee bit as well. But uh, I think certainly with the way they want to play and the way I like to play, the way I like to watch rugby, is when it's played with plenty of pace. So hopefully the new laws will help with that.
Yeah, it's been an interesting watch. And do you miss your mate Trimby?
Sometimes. So I can always there's a handful of us sort of finished at the same time. We actually started a gym group. Myself, Trimby, Chris Henry, and Tommy Bowe, and I think we went to the gym once and together, and that's been like going for 2 years. This gym group, which doesn't gym, so but we do stay in contact.
Yeah, the gym I've got's got a great cafe. Does a fantastic latte and a sausage roll. Unfortunately, it's on the way in, so it's takes up quite a lot of my time. Trimby, you're still looking fit. That must be it must be that playing in the club rugby, is it?
I don't think it's that anyway. I didn't feel fit squeezing into this jersey. So this jersey, I just realized when I stuck it on, this was my last start. And I obviously have, I mean, I don't sit around in the evening like wearing it very often, so this is a bit of a one-off. So it's nice to take a trip down memory lane and just remember that. But yeah, so I played a little bit of club rugby. I had this romantic idea what it would look like. Korea in my hometown. I never played for them since I played mini rugby. My dad still keeps in touch. He's good mates with loads of people at the club, so I thought it'd be a nice thing to go down and play. And then I signed up in pre-season in the summer when everybody was in good form, throwing the ball about, having a good time. And then I realized that's fine in pre-season in the summer. I'm not playing junior rugby in the winter. So I just basically didn't answer the phone or didn't reply to any text for a long time. And then eventually I was going to Dubai to play in that over 35s tournament, which was a great laugh. And I needed to get in good shape not in good shape, relatively slightly better shape for that. So I played one game against a team that were top of the league. I say top of the league. This is junior. This is a good few tiers down from what you'd expect. And we got hammered, and I was our worst player by a country mile.
I doubt that. You give yourself such a hard time. So with all of that, what is it you miss about the game? What is it you miss about being a pro?
I miss the crack, if I'm honest. I miss the boys. I miss the changing room, the banter, the slagging. There's nowhere else quite like it. And I've got a normal 9 to 5 a desk job now, and it's great, but no one else compares to teammates. I don't miss playing or training, or I don't miss the stress of getting ready to perform. I don't miss game day. I hated it. It just used to just stress me out too much. And then I look back, and the things that I miss are the people that I shared the good experiences with, and the crack and the boys. And that's why it's nice, as Paul mentioned there, to keep in touch with a few boys you play with, because there's a little bit of a bond there, and it's quite special.
So if club rugby was summer rugby, would that convince you to stick around for a bit longer?
Potentially. It certainly would make it a little bit easier to get over the idea of playing in the windy, wet, stinking pitches up at Korean. Yeah, it might make the conversation a little bit easier.
The conversation as in the conversation to convince you to play, or the conversation
Yes.
as in yeah.
Yeah,
But you still obviously love the game. Otherwise you wouldn't have even dipped your toe.
Oh yeah, I do. I like my whenever I was growing up, my dad loved his rugby, and he brought me down to mini rugby, and I always loved it. Always loved the rough and tumble. And I was lucky enough that I was good enough to play it full time for a good few years, and it was great. We're very privileged, and we complain. Whenever we were playing, the players were divas. Like, we just complain about how hard our lives are. I remember chatting to Ian Henderson about this one time. He said it's a tough day if you don't get home for a nap in the afternoon. And it's only whenever you get a real job you realize how lucky you were and how much, it was good times, some great times, good memories.
Awesome. Brush, have you come back for the toilet? Are you there?
Yeah,
Bryan,
I'm here,
are you
buddy.
there? Yeah. How many are you on your second glass of wine, or is that still number one?
Nah. It was that big. I filled it up for the hour.
The hour. We're here all night. Have you not heard Trimby? He's here for the long run. So how are you finding things just now? Are you enjoying some of the Super Rugby, but looking forward to the real stuff coming back?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great to watch the Super Rugby. It is so different from the Northern Hemisphere rugby, and it is very open, and everybody seems to, feel a bit more free. But I think I always love watching the game, and to see the Northern Hemisphere coming back as quick as possible, it'll be great. And try and compare the two, I think is very difficult to do so. I think Gregor and Paul and Andrew have all said that you learn so much from the referees the first month, how they change, but you can't necessarily replicate what goes on in the Southern Hemisphere too much, because we play in a different time, and the referees are a little bit different as well.
Yeah, a lot of things are very different now. You played at a really interesting time in the game. You spent a lot of time in club amateur rugby at the Melrose Club, and probably of the panel, although Gregor spent a lot of time with the big man on the panel, you will be the man who has spent the most minutes and hours with Big Dodgy Weir. What what was it like playing in clubland with Dodie with the 22mm studs on and having some of those titanic battles against Gala and Hoyk?
Yeah, I mean, me and Dodie go back to under 14s and under 16s with Melrose, and then obviously through the under 18 teams as well. And you know, Dodie got played for Melrose as an 18-year-old in a tough league in the Borders against the likes of Alan Tomes and the Sally Campbells of the world that were proper tough men. And I think Dodie managed to still cope, even though he was never renowned as a tough guy. He was someone that managed to cope with it all. So he was great to play with. And then obviously he had a dabble at number 8 for quite a few years as well, which was really interesting, because there was a lot of times where the scrum was messy and Dodie he's that tall, he never liked to bend down and flick the ball up to the 9 if he was doing doing an 8-9 going right. He would just try and hoof it with his foot straight towards you. He never actually bent over. And he'd just kick it to you, and he'd expect you to pick it up on the run, sort of thing. And you're like, just, pick up the ball and make it easier. But no, he was a pleasure to play alongside, and he's a great man, and he just showed his character, how he's fighting with everything at the moment, and motor neurons disease, and he's an inspiration to us all still.
A lot of folks don't realise, because time has passed, how good a rugby player Dodie was. And he was in a bloody good Melrose team that was packed full of guys like yourself and Chick and Sheesh and Robbie Brown and all kinds of guys who were hard men, but were very good rugby players. And you had Creamy Telfer as your coach. I mean, there are some people who only know Jim Telfer as that 1997 Lions coach talking about Everest with 147 swear words in the DVD. But you saw him on a wet and windy Tuesday and Thursday night at the Greenyards. What was it like working with a man like Jim Telfer?
Yeah, it was an interesting time, and I first obviously got introduced to the Melrose team as a 16-year-old, and I had older brothers that kind of helped me through it, and the McLeish brothers as well, who I worked for as a joiner. And we had obviously, as you said, a great group, but Jim was obviously the catalyst for us all. We trained Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, played Saturday, trained Sunday as well, Sunday mornings. So I don't think there was anyone even in the professional era that still liked to do that, and we were doing that as amateurs, having a day job on the building site, and then having to do the training. And he had the first team at the Greenyards was the banking, and he used to have the first team at the bottom of the banking, the forwards scrumming up the hill, and the second team sort of scrumming down the hill, and it was how they pushed against each other. And it was just hilarious how he used to come up with new ideas and taking our boots off so we could do live rucking, and our socks would be flying around everywhere and slapping people in the face because they got wet. And that for someone like Dodie was great fun, because Dodie was certainly one that enjoyed the funny side of training. He wasn't too serious. But Jim was an inspiration again. He'd done it himself playing for Melrose. He captained Melrose, he captained the South, captained Scotland. So he was someone that had done it all himself. So he was easy to follow, and sometimes it was difficult to understand how he wanted to play the game. And I'm sure, Gregor's free-flowing mindset was sometimes maybe misconstrued with Jim a little bit, but on a whole, he was a legend of a coach when he was allowing us to play a game outside, the forward pack. As he always used to say that the forwards win the games and the backs just obviously we make up the numbers. But he was a good man. He was a good man, and his heart was always in the right place, and he cared a heck of a lot.
Gregor, was it reassuring having Geach and Creamy as coaches on the '97 tour for the Scottish lads? Were the English boys a bit fearful of what was coming to them when you met at that camp before you set off?
I wouldn't say they were fearful. They were prepared, because Jim's reputation preceded him. And I was playing at Northampton at the time, and I got the feeling from a couple of the players at Northampton that the English players especially wouldn't stand for Jim's coaching when they heard the extreme stories of the hard work and what he demanded of you as a player. But really, that took about a couple of days of training for them to be enthralled by Jim and wanting to play for Jim like we did. We wanted to make Jim proud of us, and at times we didn't enjoy it because he gave you brutal honesty, worked you really hard. Although I would have to say the backs missed most of that. It was usually the forwards they worked hard. But he was there to get the best out of you, and he got the best back in the '97 Lions tour.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular. Both of you have been in the presence of the two of them. What was the relationship like between Big Daft Dodie and Creamy, who would have flogged his granny to ruck and scrum and line out and maul? How did the two of them get on?
For me, seeing him, I think Jim had a massive respect for Dodie, and he understood Dodie, so he let Dodie kind of not away with things, but he understood him to enough to say, Dodie will turn up on a Saturday. He's a good athlete, so he'll manage that line out for us. And I think you just let Dodie be Dodie. He's never going to be the big ball carrying man. He's just someone that was able to get on the end of a pass, and he had enough load, and he was fit enough. Even though he hated fitness, he was fit enough to still cope with that 80 minutes and have an input in the game. And I think Jim was good at managing and understanding people. I think that was the key thing. He understood lots of people, even though he didn't adapt too much in training. He just made everybody do the same. But he certainly understood how to manage Dodie, and he must have got frustrated with him on many occasions.
Gregor, did he take him under his wing for South Africa? Did Jim have a word with Dodie before we go away? Behave yourself, you big dafty.
I don't think so. I think Jim realised that Dodie had a role off the field to play as well, which was a light-hearted, bringing humour, being the energizer a lot of the time. And I think when you're in those really intense environments, when the head coach can be really intense, or in this case, the forwards coach, having someone that'll have a little joke after the coach says something in a meeting, that'll have a smile at training. Jim realised that worked for the team too. And Jim obviously selected Dodie for that tour, and Dodie was on the way to being in the test team for sure. He started really well with that horrific injury in one of the games. I think it was up against Mpumalanga, which cut short his tour. But he could easily have played in those test matches.
Yeah, it's great for all of us when we watch that moment back. It's just outright thuggery, isn't it? And it must have been crippling for everybody around that. So Dodie Weir is now going to be 50 years old. What would you buy Dodie Weir for his 50th birthday?
I think it would have to be
whiskey.
Alcohol based. Yeah,
Alcohol based.
Whiskey or wine or another creative genius beer. That's what he'd appreciate most.
Yeah, that's what he would love. He loves his whiskey now, and strangely, going back to some of the old days, he would have a whiskey on a Friday or a Thursday sometimes with sort of like Ian Smith, Rob Wainwright. They would have a whiskey occasionally on a Friday night prior to a test match, and that was just Dodie again. He was just somebody that was, look, just let me be that, and I'll be there tomorrow. Don't worry about that. And then, as Gregor says, it's now with his current situation and being stuck in the house as much as he is, whiskey, red wine, genius beer would be his tipple, as you could say, and as he's sitting outside in the farm.
As he's enjoying life on the farm. Right, let's have a look at the scores on the doors, because otherwise I know Gregor's got half a dozen other engagements to get to tonight, because he's a popular man. The little WhatsApp group, he was the first one to say, what time will we be finished tonight? So I better get going, otherwise he's just going to get chips and go home. So David Ferguson, hang your head in shame. 18 out of 31. Tony McCarty, 12. Michael Neal's having a shocker, he says, at 12. Fiona, Team Commune, 100% attendance. Fiona and Team Commune, absolutely magnificent. Completely ignored all social distancing guidelines over this period, but 21 is a decent score. Tip Top having a shocker, but Istanbul, dialing in from Istanbul, that is dedication. Oh, we've had a bit of IT issue. Oh, but we've got 20, Miss Cahill, Tilly, Trump, Ballymena Fat Boys, 24. Good work, Ballymena Fat Boys. Gregor, you're getting pelters for right-handed drinking here. There's a few calls for you, Buffalo here.
No,
Jim
you know
Taylor,
the screen,
11.
it's mirrored. It's mirrored.
Yeah,
So it's actually
I've had that fight
drinking.
with him often. Yeah, I agree. Tooney, you're getting pelters on here. Absolute pelters. Jim Taylor is giving you a hard time. Your big mate, Jim Taylor, is giving you pelters. Oh, he wants to know about Robbie Martinez, so we'll pick that one. There's obviously a story there, so we'll pick that one up at full time. Jason Ratcliffe got 15 out of 31, all the way down in the Muckle Toon. I think I'd rather have more folk for Istanbul, but it's good to have Langham online. Right, let's get going, because Trimble's desperate to get back to the Bairns and their Rice Krispies. So, eyes down, 2011 Rugby World Cup. This is the second half, folks. It has arrived. And you know the good thing about using my phone for this? Can't get any messages with Stu Tom telling me to hurry up. It is belting. So let's get going. Which nation lost 2 matches but still made the quarter-finals in the 2011 Rugby World Cup? That is worth 1 point. Which nation lost 2 pool matches but still made it to the quarter-finals? The 2011 Rugby World Cup. Question 22. Now, 2 of these are a giveaway, and the last one I think might take a bit of thinking. Name the 3 cities to host matches in the South Island. So in 2011, 3 cities in the South Island of New Zealand hosted games. Name those 3, and that is 1 point for each of the cities. 2 of them are gimmies. The third one, I'll be very impressed. Good geography knowledge if you get the third one. Question 23. Auckland and which other city hosted the quarter-final matches? Which city hosted the other quarter-finals? So Auckland and the other city, please. That is worth work. Lots of geography in the first few questions there. But now we're getting on to the action. 2 players were top try scorers. They got 6 tries each, 1 from England and 1 from France. Who were they? A little bit more genius to fuel the brain cells. 2 players were top try scorers in the 2011 Rugby World Cup. They got 6 tries each, 1 player from England and 1 from France. Who were they? And that is 1 point for each of those players. Question 25. In their pool match against Argentina, Scotland scored 2 drop goals. Who kicked them? 2 different players kicked drop goals. Gregor, right, here's a question on drop goals. I've wondered this for 23 years. Why, oh why, oh why, did you carry the ball forward from that ruck and let Jeremy Guskett drop the goal to beat South Africa for the Lions?
Because I would have missed it. Is that the correct answer?
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, every time I watch that, I think, yeah, I wish that had been Gregor. Question 26. Which New Zealander was Japan's coach at the tournament? Gregor's second favourite country, Japan. Which New Zealander was the coach at that tournament in 2011? The next one, I reckon most people will get, because it's one of those legends. Question 27. Who was fined £3,000 for jumping off a ferry in Auckland? And that's the kind of thing that probably has happened so many times before 24-hour news, social media, and the professional game. A player jumped off a ferry in Auckland and was fined £3,000 for it. I would love to know what Scotland's head coach would have done if one of his players done that. I wonder what Gregor would have made of that. We won't cut to him just in case he's fuming. 28. Who scored the winning penalty for New Zealand in the final? He was about 5th choice, I think, and he kicked the winning penalty for New Zealand. There is no bonus points for the nickname, but if you just get the nickname, you still get the point. Who scored the winning penalty for New Zealand in the 2011 World Cup final? How good was Piri Wepu in that tournament? He was immense. Now we're on to some current rugby news. Question 29. The dates for the rescheduled Heineken Cup knockout stages have been announced. Subject to travel restrictions, where will the final be played? So question 29, 1 mark. What city will host the final of the Heineken Cup? The next one, you have to have been sleeping under a rock for the last week if you do not get question 30. Which song made headlines recently when it was claimed to have links to slavery and be banned from being sung? Which song made the headlines recently? That is a gimme. And we've gone a little bit serious, so let's quickly move on to question 31. Can we see Gregor for this one, please? I'd like to see if there's a wee cheesy grin here, because I reckon this is worth a story when we get the answer. Which Fijian extended his contract at Glasgow Warriors this week? The Ouija from Fiji. Oh, poker face this time. Which Fijian extended his contract at Glasgow Warriors this week? And we need to hear the story of the pre-match chat that Gregor gave to that player when he was coach of Glasgow Warriors, because I'm not sure if it is myth or truth. There's the smile.
Reverse psychology.
Question oh, is that what it was? Yeah, I like it. Claim it. Claim it. Question 32. One of Gregor's old teams, Northampton Saints, have announced a strategic partnership with which championship club? I had no idea about this one. Not a clue. Couldn't have guessed. Northampton Saints announced a strategic partnership with which championship club? 1 point. And then we've got 3 questions left. Believe it or not, we are almost there. the last three questions are about the one and only Mr. Dodie Weir. Question 33. What is Doddie's real name? So we need all three. We need Christian, middle, and surname. What is Doddie's real name? Brush and Tooney, you have to get this right. You must both know that. If Trimble and Marshall know this, they have done some incredible swatting. Or Google. How is Wikipedia? Is it pretty fast in Belfast, lads?
What's Wikipedia?
What's Wikipedia? If I believed Wikipedia, Marsh, it tells me that you've been part of a gym club for the last 2 years, training 3 times a week.
It used to also say that someone changed it. That it used to always say that I got loads of wedgies in school.
Nick Haining, who plays for Edinburgh at number 8, when he signed for Edinburgh, everyone got excited in the press because somebody had put on Wikipedia that Nick Haining had done a lot of ballet when he was a... So every report that had Nick Haining, all those journalists that do lots of hard work, just stuck him into Wikipedia and started talking about how he was a ballet dancer before he became an Edinburgh player and Scotland player. Question 34. How many caps does Dodie have for Scotland? Brush and Gregor must have played in quite a few of those with him. Is that true? How many caps roughly did you play alongside him?
About 50, I think.
Really?
Maybe a bit less. Maybe
Brush
maybe
is a
about
lot older than
40,
me.
48. Cheers, Gregor.
I just played with them at the end of their careers, Dodie and Bryan.
Gregor,
Yes,
did you
I
not get
played
your
them
first
from
cap when you were
93,
about 15 though?
So did we both get our first caps in 93?
I did.
Brush.
When did you get yours?
93 as well.
Yeah, 93. Yeah.
You're not as young as you claim, Mr. Townsend.
No. Not 50 though.
Not 50.
Not yet.
Not 50. Not yet. Oh, you've got a bit to go. Question 35. Who were the opponents for Doddie's last Test cap? Who were the opponents for Doddie's last Test cap? And it was at Murrayfield. So, ladies and gentlemen and star panelists, that brings us to the end with the opportunity to score a nice round 50 points, because this is Doddie's 50th year. So, the scores on the doors I have misplaced. We are on 36 for Scotland and 33 for Ireland. So, can our young, handsome Ulsterman stage a fantastic comeback in the second half, or has the experience of Redpath and Townsend managed to hold out and shut them down for the second half? Let's have a look. Gregor, there's a few requests on the chat for you, asking about game changers and asking about Bobby Martinez, and I'm definitely going to ask you about Jamie Batty, because I am not letting you go without knowing about that one. So, folks, before we go to scores, I'm going to get my favourite one out the way first. Gregor, you have coached Scotland to one of their finest moments at Murrayfield, to defeat England in the Calcutta Cup. You put Ryan Wilson out before the game to rile up the English and start a little fracas in the tunnel, which got them a bit upset. You masterminded the victory. We played some phenomenal rugby. It all went swimmingly. And then after the game, one of my favourite things that I've ever heard happen in Scottish rugby I'll let you take on the story.
Well, first of all, I've got to correct you on masterminding victories. That's not what coaches do nowadays. Players win games. Coaches are just there to organise things during the week. Okay, so the story you want to hear about is Jamie Batty after the game. So we tend to celebrate our victories with a song in the changing room, and on that day we had a trophy to drink out of. So we were in there having fun after the win in the BT Murrayfield change rooms, and then I have to head off to do media with the captain. So by the time I usually come back from media, everyone's either in the showers or they're already changed to go to the dinner. And I expected the same to be the case on this occasion because the media took much longer and we had to do sponsors' duties as well. But when I came back in, no one was in the showers. Walked past the showers before getting the changing room. Everyone was still in their kit, and the changing room was really busy. People who had never been there were been there as a coach, and all three were very important people, and all three were women. So on the left-hand side, speaking to our backs was J.K. Rowling, big Scottish rugby fan. Straight was Nicola Sturgeon. She had the trophy and she was drinking out of it. And then on the side, speaking to our front row, Dan McFarlane was chatting to her as well, now Ulster coach, was Princess Anne. So three very important people. So I worked the room, managed to speak to Joe Rowling, and then First Minister Nicola. And then by the time I got across to Anne, Princess Anne, there'd obviously been some sort of incident because you could tell that people had just been a little bit standoffish. So I got told what happened after it. Jamie Batty had gone up to Princess Anne, our patron, experienced member of the royal family, and offered her a drink. And the head of security said, I'm not sure if she can take a drink. And I'm not sure whether Jamie said ma'am when he offered her a drink, but let's say he did. But Princess Anne's been around rugby players for a long time. She said, yes, of course, I'll celebrate with you. So Jamie went into his kit bag and brought out 2 bottles of Buckfast. Buckfast. So politely declined by Princess Anne that she would not be having a bottle of Buckfast with Jamie Batty. So fair play to him. Great confidence to have the Buckfast in the room and then offer it to the royal family.
Genius. Princess Anne has made quite a few appearances at the Genius quizzes. Ollie Phillips has quite a few stories, and there's a few people in the chat reminding us of Mummy P. If you don't know about that, go back and look at the Ollie Phillips episode of the Genius quiz because he tells some cracking Princess Anne stories on account of him being friends with Mike Tyndall. But I love that story. I've heard Gregor tell that before, and he's had roomfuls of people in stitches with that. It's an absolute cracker. Good to hear that things like songs in the changing room and a bottle of Buckfast can still happen in the professional era. Is Buckfast encouraged by the head coach of the national team, or do you have to be careful?
I have no preference on what they're drinking. If we're having a couple of drinks after a win or whatever the occasion is, they can drink what they want.
So the tonic wine is allowed under Gregor's headship. Brilliant. I love that story. Right, where your man Tip Top on here is desperate to hear about game changers, but we will be back. Let's do some answers. So we're looking for the Irishmen have got to turn around a 3-point deficit. It is 36 to Scotland and 33 to Ireland. Fiona, are you going to claim another victory? Let's see. Question 21. Which nation lost 2 pool matches yet still made it to the quarterfinals? The answer is France. France was the answer. Name the 3 cities to host matches in the South Island. I reckon the first 2 are giveaways. Invercargill and Dunedin. And then the third one. Do any of the panel have a third city for us?
I was between two.
Third city. Go on in, give me your choice.
It was either Nelson or Queenstown. I wrote down Nelson.
Yes, you are correct to one of them. You wrote down Nelson. The answer is Nelson. Gregor Townsend, a much travelled man. A much travelled man.
I was there as an assistant coach, so just I should have got that one right.
Don't. The Irish boys are already looking for reasons to point there, so don't come out with stuff like that. Question 23. Auckland and which other city hosted the quarter-final matches? It was Wellington. Wellington, the New Zealand capital. Question 24. 2 players were top try scorer with 6 each. One from England, one from France. Let's the panel. Let's go to our Irish lads. Any answers here, gentlemen? 1 Englishman, 1 Frenchman, 6 tries, top try scorer in 2011. Trimby, any ideas?
Two guesses. I'll let Paul take it away.
I really struggled to think of English players around that era. I put down Maxime Médard for France. No.
What about an Englishman?
I put Mark Cueto.
Rats. It was a wing. It was Chris Ashton, Ash the Splash, and Vincent Clerc, or Vincent Clark, as I would like to call him.
I got Clerc.
Oh, nice one.
You're spoofing.
Like
You're
that.
spoofing. Show us your
the
page.
He's pleased with that. Chris Ashton, Vincent Clerc. Question 25, in the pool match against Australia, let's ask the Scotland assistant coach if he can remember. Scotland scored 2 drop goals. Who kicked them? Gregor, who kicked your drop goals against Argentina?
Yeah, Rudy Jackson got one.
Yep.
And I think it was Dan Parks, but it might have been Mossy. I put
you're
down
right.
Dan Parks.
It was Dan Parks. It was Dan Parks. Rudy Jackson and Dan Parks were the drop kickers. 2 drop goals against Argentina. 26, New Zealander as Japan's coach was John Kirwan. John Kirwan was the Japanese coach. 27, who was fined £3,000 for jumping off a ferry in Auckland, which could lead us into all kinds of stories of the daftest things people have jumped off in rugby, but it was, of course, Manu Tuilagi. The boys were enjoying themselves up the back, and he decided to take the plunge. So Manu Tuilagi. Question 20, who scored the winning penalty for New Zealand in the final? It was, of course, Stephen Donald, known as Beaver, who was called in. Carter got injured. Was it Slade got injured? Did Cruden get injured? I think everybody, it was a bit of a curse on the All Black number 10, and in comes the Beaver to kick the winner. Question 29, which city will host the final of the Heineken Cup? It is, of course, Marseille in France. Marseille. Question 30, which song recently made the headlines? Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. Question 31, which Fijian extended his stay at Glasgow this week? It is the Ouija from Fiji, Leone Nakarawa. What a player. And we might get time, although we're fast running out, for Gregor to tell us that story. Question 32, Northampton Saints announced a strategic partnership with which championship club? I had no clue. It is Bedford. So Bedford will be working with Northampton Saints. And then we get to the Doddie round. What is Doddie's real name? It is, of course, George, which I think most people know. And the middle initial is W. It is George. Go for it, Basil. What's his middle name?
Wilson.
Wilson. George Wilson Weir. George Wilson Weir for 1 point. How many caps does he have, Gregor? How many caps has Doddie got?
61.
Correct. He has 61 caps. The Irish lads are sniffing conspiracy here. Marsh is getting a frown on. Look at that. He's Marsh is ready. He's not a happy lad. Question 35. Who were the opponents for his last Test cap? It was at Murrayfield. It was in the year 2000. Anybody know? Anybody got? Do we know this one? No.
2000? No.
France.
Wales?
His
No.
last Test cap was against France. It wasn't at the end of the championship, but it was against France. Tip Top reckons he knows all the Doddie questions. So take some time, do some sums. Marsh has puffed out the cheeks. He's not overly impressed by that performance. Scotland are on 36. This is going to challenge my mental arithmetic. Scotland are on 36. Ireland are on 33. I think we're going to go Ireland, Scotland, Ireland, Scotland. Let's start with Andrew. What was your score?
I got 8.
8. 8. Are you sure? 8. So that takes us on to 41. So you're in the lead. The good thing in the lead. Brush, how many did you get?
11.
Oh, what a performance. What a performance. So that climbs to 47. So we are now 6 in front. Beagle, this is going to take a monumental effort from you. Huge effort. And we've got to hope that Tooney's had a shocker. How many did you get?
6.
6. So we need Gregor to have got a big, fat, hairy, smelly 0. We need Gregor to have had a shocker. He looks pretty happy with himself. He looks quite happy. Gregor, hit us with it.
I enjoyed that round. That was 16.
Oh, 16! Let's just say Scotland won by 16. That was an impressive performance. I think when Stu Tom, you are going to have to offer these boys at least one round of golf and a decent 19th hole to make up for this, because they're beginning to feel that this is a stitch up. Trimble is now ready to go and put his kids to bed and read a very angry bedtime story. Marsh, let's come to you. How was that for you?
Yeah, enjoyable in terms of everything but the quiz. It was really good.
I've got a request for you, Beagle. I've got a request from now I forget. Sorry, I think it was Fiona. Beagle, who was your favourite Munster player to play against? Who did you enjoy playing against when you played Munster?
No such thing.
Yeah, well, it was funny because I remember the very first start I had against Munster away. O'Gara was playing 10 for them, and he was hitting his wee low spiral kicks into the corner. And I genuinely remember thinking, I was maybe 21 at the time, and I remember thinking, like, flip, this guy, unbelievable. Literally every kick was one bounce, and then in it went. And then we had a wee bit of an altercation after a game at home, where we beat Munster. I think it was 22-20, and he had come on. He was on the bench for whatever reason that night and came on, and he was lining up a drop goal for the last 2 minutes, and I literally just chased after him, and he didn't get a drop goal away. And then I think I tackled him late a wee bit and stuff, and he didn't take it too well, so he wasn't too pleased with me after the game.
You tackled him a wee bit late. Is there any detail you can add to that?
I think it was more just if I knew if I'd sort of managed to get close to him, tackled him, then he definitely was going to be ready to drop goal the next ruck. So I was just trying to stop him doing what he was very good at.
He strikes me as the kind of guy that would.
I was just going to say, sorry.
He strikes me as the kind of guy who would just shrug that off. that he would take all that very easily? He seemed like a pretty relaxed kind of guy, Rod.
Yeah, no, he was. He was happy to shake my hand after the game, and the next the next day the next time I saw him after that was down in Ireland camp, and the very first thing he said to me when we were getting food, he was just like, "Just admit it. You tackled me late. You were tackling me late." So he hadn't really let go of it.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah, he was never going to let you forget that. What was it like playing in those games between provinces in Ireland? It must have just been electric.
Yeah, no, it was, and I think as well. Like not so much for me because I was never really in the mix the way Andrew would have been in terms of the national stuff, but you knew guys were obviously trying to impress the national coaches, and they were trying to, like, if you're playing against someone you tend to go even slightly harder than normal, and you don't want to take a step back, and because everybody knew each other so well, uh, you know everybody's strengths and weaknesses. And again, I remember we were playing down in Thomond Park, and I was in the front defensive line opposite CJ Stander, and Ian Keatley was playing 10 for Munster, and he looked up and he saw me sort of up opposite Stander, and he was just like, "Run it, Marshall, run it, Marshall, run it, Marshall." And I was just like, "Oh, for flip's sake." So that's the thing. Whenever you know people well, they know where to target as well. So.
And did you tackle him?
I think he used me as a speed bump. So I think he might have fallen over. I don't think I completed the tackle though.
Yeah, I think you take that as one of your stats. It's got to be.
Oh
Andrew,
yeah, I always tried to go up.
Andrew, I think you did reasonably well there. Second half, that wasn't too bad considering the questions were stacked against you. So, Andrew, for you, who did you love to play against? Who did you see on the team sheet and think, yeah, this is going to be it for me?
I suppose it was always nice, as you've alluded to there. It's nice to against guys that you play with Ireland, and then play the inter-pros against them. So you kind of know them quite well, as Paul was saying. There's always like little subtle tactics going on in national camp, in unit sessions, and what backs plays or being launching off scrums and stuff, and you always have in the back of your head, you're thinking, right, provincially this might come back, we might learn something here. So you're always kind of thinking with both caps. But the inter-pros were always great. And then it was the guys that you know best. They're the guys you want to beat the most.
What's it like? You've scored a heap of tries. What's it like scoring a try at home, packed crowd, Six Nations? Do you get the feeling at the time, or is it something you look back on with a warm, fuzzy glow?
I wish I had enjoyed it more. I feel like whenever I was playing, I took it too seriously. It's only afterwards now I kind of watch back footage, and especially the last period with COVID, Ulster have put out a lot of tweets and highlights, and and kind of featuring a few of them, and kind of look back and you go, I wish I remembered it more. I wish I'd kind of savored it more. My first cap, David Humphreys, took me aside and said, Trimby, just make sure, don't get overawed with the moment, and just take a moment to look around the old Lansdowne Road, so much history, and just drink it in and just be in the moment and just enjoy it. And I wish I'd done that more. That was sound advice from a veteran and a hero of mine growing up, and getting the chance to play with him. He came off the bench that day for my first game. Some amazing experiences, and I just wish we had have enjoyed it more, or just kind of remember it more. But you never remember it as much about it as you hope you do.
So playing alongside someone that you've said is a hero, how does that feel when you're in the changing room? Are you still a 12-year-old boy looking at him with starry eyes and pinching yourself, or do you very quickly just see him as your teammate?
Yeah, it doesn't take long before it just becomes a normal teammate, but definitely I had to get past that. He was my hero growing up, and you're pinching yourself first time you're in the changing room with him, going out to play. I remember he took myself and Tommy Bowe under his wing a little bit when we first came into the national team, and he took us out. He had an M3 at the time, and he was kind of showing off a little bit, driving around this fast car. And so he took us out in spins and days off and stuff. And Ronan O'Gara used to slag him, saying, "Where's Daddy and the two kids going today on their day off?" So he looked after us well. Now, funny mentioning O'Gara again, he's got a lot of airtime tonight, but that wasn't the only time Paul Beagle fell out with O'Gara. I think Raj got fed up. Raj got fed up with him on the golf course one day as well, which was a hilarious exchange. I think that's where the relationship started to go south a little bit. But Bruce, you've been very familiar calling everybody by their nicknames, but that was the day actually Paul got the nickname Beagle. And it was because he duffed. We were playing golf, and he duffed. It was myself, Ronan O'Gara, Rory Best, and Beagle. He wasn't Beagle at the start of the round, but he duffed a drive into a hedge just to our right, and he scurried off into this hedge and came back about 30 seconds later, and he had 10 golf balls. So yeah, that was the Beagle. That was the Beagle started, and the Beagle, like if you know the Beagle, he talks a lot, right? So I think that day maybe he talked too much, and O'Gara got to the point where he got fed up with him, and O'Gara hit this putt, and it just rimmed the edge of the hole. Really thought it was gonna go in, and Beagle said, "Oh, I thought that was gonna drop," and O'Gara said, "The only thing getting dropped around here is you if you don't shut up."
It's good to hear that no matter how old and how experienced and how many caps you get, rugby players still come up with stupid nicknames for each other and still love the banter on the golf course. Brilliant. Who won the golf?
Can't actually remember.
Sure. I think this is what Trimby was saying about, Humph, his sort of admiration for Humph. This was my first senior tour, and I was kind of quite excited being around O'Gara, O'Driscoll, and Trimby and I were rooming together for 3 weeks in New Zealand, and I kept saying, like, "Trimby, are you allowed to do this? Are you allowed to do that?" I was really nervous, and Trimby fell out with me by the end of it as well. We didn't speak for the last week.
Did you stitch him up, Trimby? Did you give him some information?
I did actually stitch him up, but it kind of backfired a little bit. So because Beagle likes to talk a lot and likes to ask a lot of questions, they decided that his role on the bus, Donnacha O'Callaghan, charged him with the task every day, and his task was Beagle's question. So every day, Donnacha would give Beagle a question, and he had to then go on the mic on the bus on the way home and give the answer to this question. And one of them was, we used to get per diems, which is like your money for the day, for lunch on a day off, whatever. And Donnacha's question to Beagle was, what does per diem actually mean? So the night before, then Beagle was saying, how am I going to do this? And running some ideas past me, what he thought might work or what might be funny on the bus. And he said, I'm thinking about slagging off the Irish language and pretending per diem is Irish. So he told me his joke, and I said, yeah, that is really funny. Go for it. That'll be well received. The boys will love that. So he cracked this gag, slagging off the Irish language on the bus, and they pulled over the bus and kicked him off the bus. And then and he had to, but what I didn't realize was the rules were, like, the established rules by this stage in the kangaroo court of the Irish team was, if someone got off the bus, then their roommate had to join them. So Paul had to walk home to Auckland, to the Crown Plaza that day, unfortunately. So it backfired.
Love it. Love the kangaroo court. Love that it's still there. Brush, are you there? Have you
Yeah,
not
still
gone
here,
home
buddy.
yet, Basil, have you? All right.
Nah, not
You
yet,
heard Marsh said. You heard Marsh there saying that as a teacher, one of the boys said, "Oh yeah, my dad told me." Now you're now in a funny situation where you're probably now becoming known as somebody's dad. How does that feel watching the youngster in the game now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Cam's setting his own pathways and where he wants to go, and for me, he knows my views, and I'd love him to have always played for Scotland, and I think Gregor knows my views on that as well, but he's his own person, and he just wants to get back playing. 2 years in the professional game, and he's had 2 summers of operations on his knee, so he just wants to just play rugby at the moment, not necessarily think whether that's with England or Scotland, and I just want to try and be a dad for him rather than someone that keeps nagging him about going down the Scotland route, which I'll always will. But in the short term, I just want him to get playing rugby, proving how good he probably wants to be and can be, and that'll solve itself, and everything else after that will just follow. And whatever he decides, it'll be his choice. And at the end of the day, he's 6'2", so there's no point in me fighting with him and arguing because he's too big now.
So, is he interested in what his old man did? Is he interested in hearing stories about Jim Telfer making you train Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, getting up Sunday morning while still doing a job on the tools? Or is it, aye, Dad, very good, times have changed?
No, they've always been interested in whether that's, they came to the World Cup in 2003 when I retired. So, I've got a great video of him at age 3 and my daughter Amy and my younger son Murray all singing Flowery Scotland, carrying a kookaburra. So, I've got that video which came out recently and pictures of Gregor's kids as well with them. So we all brought that out, and I think he always been aware of they used to come to Sale because they go to Gloucester to training and join in with the lads, and they've been around the rugby a lot. So he's not necessarily too fussed about watching our games of all these years ago, but I think now the game is so different, and the physicality and the physical side of the game is different. But there's still things that the mind is really, my mind is still willing to help him if I can, and hopefully he'll listen. But we'll just wait and see, and time will tell.
Do you wait for him to ask?
No, I tell him if I think he's. I think any. I think he's got a lot. He's had a lot of pressure on his plate from a young kid. When Eddie Jones picked him as an 18-year-old to go on tour, that was a lot for him to deal with. So there's no point in me tarting up or being soft on him. I think I've been hard on him from a young age, and supportive but hard and truthful. And I think because there's a lot of people out there that give him a hard time about what he's doing and how he's doing it. And for me, I just want him to be successful, whatever he does, and enjoy it as well. Because everyone in the room, everyone on the call tonight has talked about missing the camaraderie, the friendships, the fun, the daft times, but the winning, the occasions. And I would hate him to not enjoy all of that because of certain things that may get discussed. And I think he should love playing the sport because it's such a short-lived game.
And that's still important to you. You think? Do you think there are guys in the game who don't love it?
I don't think they actually. I think they love the game, but I don't think they actually love the real moments in it. And I think Andy mentioned it just a minute ago that he wished he'd savoured something else. And I was a big joker off the pitch, and I loved the keeping everybody, anxious and nervous about what was going to happen next. And I think that still needs to be in the game. Gregor will know now because he's ingrained in it with the national team. But you have to have characters. You have to enjoy it because when you look back at what you've done and what you've achieved, it is an achievement. And whether that's playing club rugby, professional rugby, or international setups, I think you should really savor the moments and have good friendships for life.
Pretty advice. There's a pretty common theme coming through here about scrum halves, though, between you and Marsh. There's some common traits that seem to bind you little buggers together, isn't there?
100%. You know, if Beagle wasn't, if he wasn't having got the referee, I'd be disappointed. I think every nine should make the referee the game, and that's what they're there to do. And they can tell you to shut up when you've said too much. But I think you've got to keep the pressure on the game, and it keeps you alive. It makes you think as a player, and it makes the opposition think that you might be right. You have something in your head, and I would always be there to try and niggle away at the little things and make the referee manage it and get into the opposition, whether that was playing against Gala and chasing Gregor as a young 18-year-old when he got man of the match via Melrose. He was a bit quicker than me, so I never really got near him. But yeah, like I think nines have got to be chippy and they've got to be challenging, but they've also got to take the stick, because when the big fellas get a hold of them, it can hurt sometimes.
Yeah, we've got 3 nines on here. Brush, there was a special request came in from Mr. Townsend. Who is your favourite ever fly half to play with? Who is your favourite standoff?
Oh, it has to be Charlie Hodgson, no question.
I knew you'd say.
No, look, I think I've got to say, obviously, playing alongside Craig Chalmers, who was one of the most determined guys I'd ever met, was outstanding. But then obviously someone like Gregor came along, who probably complemented my game more so, because I was a fairly good passer of the ball, and I was allowing him time to be. He was one of the shining lights in the modern game that came through, and his ability to run onto the ball and for me to probably gain more caps out of that probably was a big, Gregor's asset was something that I complimented, and he complimented my game through that way. And Craig was an exceptional competitor as well. So, but Gregor was a star. Lions, Scotland, Gala, Northampton, and whatever else. But
all right.
both of them are
I'll get you the drinks.
both of them
are
pleasures to play with. Nah.
So Gregor made the point that coaches organise the week and players win the game. How often did you get to a Saturday afternoon at Murrayfield and Mr. Townsend ripped up what you'd done for the whole week and just did his own thing on a Saturday afternoon?
Probably about 60 caps, probably worth, yeah. Nah, there was certain occasions that you just had to let Gregor play, and the game plans are always are flexible enough that you should allow players. We had Glenn Metcalf as well, and later on in my career, that was an exceptional runner, and you could not say to someone like Glenn or even Gregor, look, if it's on, it's on, and if you want to have a crack, and everyone else had to get behind that. And I think the game moved on each year, from my early years and to when I was finishing in 2003, and there was some runners there that we needed to keep free, and Gregor was a player, Simon Taylor was another player you didn't want to put a harness on, because their individual talent was something that we should thrive off, not necessarily stick in a bottle and not open the lid on.
Gregor, that famous afternoon in Paris where the pass was named after you, it became the Tooney flip. Long before Sonny Bill Williams made it fashionable, Gregor Townsend had already written the book and got the trademark on it. What was that like to wake up the following morning and that be the clip being shown and that was what was in the paper? That was a phenomenal bit of skill.
Well, a sore head the following morning, that's for sure. Look, I think at the time I was young, and you do something on a field that is by instinct that you never really predicted that was going to happen. I was trying to step back inside the defence to get Gavin on my outside shoulder because he'd done that earlier in the game. So I was looking to the outside first of all, but he was calling on the inside and he saw the space. So it happens in a millisecond that if you can, your hands free, you can adjust it. But when you're young, like Brush and I, we would have been 22, 24 at that age. You didn't stop to think about moments like that. It's only now when they repeat it on TV through lockdown, do you think, oh, that was a great occasion? And people come up and speak to you a lot to say they were in the crowd that day. Thanks for getting us a win. And as players, you're just having fun with your mates. And in those days when it was amateur, and it's still the same in professional days, the game was only one part of it. The change room after the game and the feeling you get with your brothers in arms and just that satisfaction. The dinners, the touring, they were as enjoyable and memorable, or even more memorable than the 80 minutes on the field.
So let's go to the changing room before a very important game, remembering that we've got the Toonie flip where you gave that pass to Gavin in Paris. What did you say to Big Leone about that game for Glasgow Warriors, where he gave 2 out the back passes for tries to be scored? Is that right? Was it 2 offloads? What did you say to him in the changing room before the game? Be honest.
Well, the honest version is probably not the memorable one. And who knows? If nobody's got recording, I can say what I thought I said. Leone was outstanding for us at Glasgow, but he had started on the bench in the semi-final against Ulster, and it wasn't a game that Ulster remember fondly because we ended up scoring the last play of the game, or the last minute of the game, with a brilliant pass from Finn Russell out to Dietrich van der Merwe, and then Finn got the touchline conversion. For us Glasgow supporters and our squad, it's a brilliant memory and a fantastic night. Leone, during the build-up to that try, had carried twice really well, didn't offload, got through the tackles, created quick ball. Because just prior to that, when he came off the bench in the second half, he tried a few offloads and hadn't gone to hand. I think it was Ryan Wilson went up and slapped him in the head and said, just carry hard. And I knew where Ryan was coming from because Leone was an excellent carrier, like one of the best forwards ever to play the game. Who could, if he didn't have an offload, he'd still be one of the best forwards to play the game. But he also had this amazing ability to offload any direction. And not only was that an offload that he got his hands free, he puts the ball in the best position for you to carry. So I'm building this up to what I said to him before the game. And what I think I said was, Leone, think about carrying hard today. And that's your most important priority. And if you do get through the tackles, you can offload, but think about carrying hard. So his first carry in the game at the Kingspan Stadium against Munster, he carried hard, broke 3 tackles, offloaded to Rob Harley, try. 10 minutes later, he steps 2 or 3 people and offloads to Dietrich van der Merwe for a try. So I'm glad he ignored my advice, that's for sure.
Just like you said, coaches do the organising and players win the game. I love that. And it's obviously a good thing for Glasgow to secure Leone for the next season.
Oh, fantastic. I think I read stats the other day that Glasgow weren't offloading that much during the season. And then when Leone arrived, their offloads, I think they went from near the bottom of the rankings up to near the top. And it wasn't all just through Leone. Johnny Gray got 5 or 6 offloads when they played Sale. And he has a great sort of contagious effect on the team, that he's looking to keep the ball alive. Others will look to keep the ball alive. He's a great man. He's well loved by the players. He's a brilliant set piece forward as well. So yeah, I think Glasgow will thrive when he's there for the next season.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gregor. I'm getting the message in my ear to shut up. I could genuinely be here all night, Trimby. So I have to say to you, Andrew, it's not me. All right, Stu is giving me the Bruce, shut your mouth and let's go home. So it's his fault, not mine. But he's due you a round of golf and a very enjoyable 19th hole. So don't you worry. I've sorted you out there. Well done. Let's get some scores. So Scotland were victorious with, I have to say, Brush and Tooney, what a performance. But lads, Andrew and Marsh, well done. It looks like we've got Michael Neal, 22, Jason Ratcliffe doing in the Muckletoon, got 29, Tony McCarty, 27, decent performance. Team Commune have nailed it again. Oh, David Ferguson, 36 out of 50. Do you believe that, Gregor, that Fer got 36 out of 50? I'm not convinced. Dodgy journalist
That's what
there.
I got. That's Gala Academy.
Gala Academy, yeah.
Gala Academy.
Well, I think I could be the exception to that rule there, Gregor. But I like it. I'm going to claim that one. Gregor Townsend said I'm brainy. I'm taking that. So I think Team Commune have romped it with 37. And I have to say, Team Commune, you have been magnificent because you have been here more than I have, I think. Before I hand over to Stu to do the official wrap-up, thank you to Neil, our tech guy, who had to deal with me earlier, and I think we've got through this without a hitch. So good on you, Neil. To the panellists, Trimby and Beagle, I've only just met you, but top men, great representatives of Ulster and Ireland. So thank you. Brush was a hero of mine as a young lad. I saw him play the All Blacks at Netherdale for the South, and many more games. An absolute hero, and I love that you joined us. And Gregor, what more can we say? The man everybody wants to be. So thank you, Tooney, for dialing in. You're an absolute star, and I think have been very honest. We'll get to the game changers another day. Can I just say a personal thanks to Jason at Genius, Jason and Charlie at Genius, for all their support. They've been very good to me, and this is my final can of Genius. So I'm going to have to get to a Spar in Scotland to stock up, and 5p goes to Dodie. To Dodie, he's a man who's been very good to me and I've known for most of my life, and he is a shining example to what we should all do when we're faced with adversity, which is build those strong relationships, have a bloody good time while we're here, and help as many people as we can. And I love the man to bits, and I'm very pleased that he's going to celebrate his 50th next week, and I hear he's got a cracking present coming from his sister Kirsty. And to Stu Tom, this is my third time to host. I can't believe I was invited back for the second time, never mind the third. So Stu, thank you, you're a gentleman. I think I owe you a decent 19th hole. For me, good night. Over to you, Stu.
No, as I say, I can echo everything that Bruce has said there tonight. You know, I could sit here and talk rugby to anyone for hours, and I think Kerry, my wife, would agree with that. No, you know, I've done a bit for Dodie in terms of things I've organised, cycles and stuff, but you know, I just ask people, and people are very generous with their time. They probably don't know me from Adam, but you know, Brushy came on the cycle last year. Gregor, Andrew, and Paul, you've given up your time this evening. And anybody else that have asked the hosts, it's just been incredible. It really has. I think, without a doubt, we all know Dodie. We all love him dearly, and what he's been going through and what he's still going through is just it's hard to believe. He's 50 next week. All we can do is keep fighting for the guy, and you know, do what we can. That's all I ask. And thank you very much, everybody that's signed in for the last 8 weeks or 9 weeks. It's been good fun. It's the easy part for me is writing the questions. The hard part is the host. So thank you very much, Bruce, Gregor, Brushy, Andy, and Paul this evening. Thank you very much. And yes, anyone who wants a game of golf at Royal Belfast, they're more than welcome. It's a nice 5-ball there, if that's such a thing.
I'm up for that.
Good
stuff. Yes, thanks, definitely.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much for your
help.
Well done,
Stuart. Well done, Bruce.
All right.
Guys.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Good.
Cheers, fellas.